Today I have an opportunity to share with you the mission to the overseas Chinese. Notice I use the term overseas Chinese actually is because you might think, like me, I'm obviously Chinese, you might think the Chinese are all the same. They are not. The overseas Chinese, especially from South Africa point of view, we're talking about, did you know 400 years ago there were already Chinese here in South Africa? But then how about the mission to them? And historically, we got the Taiwanese came here to do business. We're talking about in the 1960s or maybe 70s. But that's before the mainland China started, this diplomatic ties with South Africa. But in the 1990s, you got the mainland Chinese came over to do business. So now you already got how many groups? 3 of them. In nowadays, you got the overseas Chinese who are already born in South Africa. Then the immigrants from both mainland China, Taiwan, or maybe a little bit from Singapore. So now when we use the term overseas Chinese, you are actually talking about a group of diversity, not just one group of people. Yes, we do share the same language, similar culture with nuances, but it's not that easy. It's complicated to reach to them. That's why we use another term. We're talking about the people, the least reached or even the unreached. What's the opportunity here? We've got a huge opportunity because of population. If you check numbers, we're talking about maybe 300,000 Chinese in South Africa. And you can see the opportunity is massive, but what are the challenges? Challenges, I would say, one of them is the congregation or the believers, the volatile believers. We're talking about maybe if you are a pastor in South Africa, looking after or shepherding the Chinese flock, maybe this morning, this Sunday, you have 100 people, you probably got 20 next Sunday, or even 10 the next Sunday. And then the following Sunday, you probably got another 100. Why? Because the volatile of this congregation, most of them are running business and they move around a lot. And most of them are looking for job opportunities. So they migrate inter-provinces in South Africa quite a lot. So we got a volatile of this kind of congregation in South Africa. That's challenge number 1. Number 2, I actually talked to one of those Chinese pastors. He was a missionary in South Africa for about 20 years. Now we are venturing into the church plant model. Basically, a missionary becomes a pastor pastors the church until he dies. And then during that time, they either find a successor or they just close the church. So it's very sad news, a huge challenge there. So what they do, they trying to bring up the young, up and coming generations, the young generations of leaders. It's very challenging is the language. We're talking about the young generations who came here and they have their own children, children growing up speaking English and older generations speaking Chinese. So it is required for the pastor to speak both English and Chinese, which is a huge challenge because it involves how you're going to preach on Sunday, you're going to use translation or not, and how you're going to prepare your sermon in which language. So you see, we have the opportunity, huge population, 300,000 Chinese, and the challenge because of the diverse background. And then also the challenge, which church planting model do you use? Pastoral model is very effective, but problem is in the long term, you seldom find any successor. So that's just, in a nutshell, how you're going to reach the Chinese. You're going to have the opportunities, challenges, and probably you're going to have facing the next generation of pastors. Where do you find them? How do you train them? So first, pray for this. How do we transfer this opportunity and challenge into fruition to further God's kingdom, further the gospel, and I think pray specifically to the pastors who are in South Africa because they are under huge challenge. They are under pressure. On one hand, they know they're here on their own. On the other hand, they are trying to bring up the young generations of leaders, which is also a huge challenge. So pray for them. And in terms of support, I would say maybe encourage the young leaders or potential leaders to go to seminary, even though these seminaries in South Africa, which their media instruction is English, also helps a lot, preferably for those guys who grew up in China or have a huge solid Chinese background in terms of language and culture, because that also helps them to reach out and encourage them to connect locally, connect to local churches, connect to the local pastors, fraternals, the kind of things, so they have more resources. At least they don't feel alone. The battles are never alone, and the ministry is a teamwork. I think from there they can find maybe more frontiers and opportunities. They can work together, collaborate with the local churches, find more resources in terms of materials and human resources. Maybe encourage them if they can see the video. For the seminarians, if it is possible, is there anything that they can do online? Provide them with the resources, and especially encourage the young Chinese who are speaking in both languages, who has the desire to hold the office of elders, become the next generation of leaders, and maybe encourage them to enroll online courses, because in-person courses that are mostly in English, maybe the online courses you can do it in both English and Chinese. I hope that helps.